Serious, how can someone be a good boss to an employee with serious mental health issues? Attention! Serious tag notice: jokes, puns, and off-topic comments are not permitted in any comment, parent or child. Asterisk parent comments that aren't from the target group will be removed, along with their child replies. Asterisk report comments that violate these rules. Posts that have few relevant answers within the first hour, and posts that are not appropriate for the serious tag will be removed. Consider doing an AMA request instead. Thanks for your cooperation and enjoy the discussion. Asterisk I am a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit if you have any questions or concerns. Be results oriented. If they are giving you the quality of work you need in the right time frame, don't micromanage how they are getting it done. You might ask them in what way they work better, e.g. they might work better in a quieter area, working from home, or with more flexible hours. You will, of course, also need to extend these courtesies to the other people you supervise. We work for rail yard security, so really I just need them to show up on time and stay through their usually quiet, usually boring shift. This is good advice for all management actually. Came here to comment exactly this. My boss let me do things my own way as much as possible, knowing she would get the same amount of work at a good level. I had a much harder time with more structured jobs. This is generally good advice. Micromanaging usually exasperates anyone on the receiving end. Be results oriented. 7K and upvotes. This is why performance disorders like ADHD are so brutal. We know what to do, know what's expected, and some days we just can't produce results no matter how desperately we want to. Time blindness means we won't show up on time because we thought we spent 5 minutes in the shower but really took 20 minutes for no apparent reason. In the 10 minutes to do the 20-minute drive to work, we'll think we have enough time to check Reddit, make lunch, and get pastries for everyone. Oh, but we forgot we were going to do that on the way and had to go back for our work laptop. Twice. Short version, ADHD sucks and is incompatible with modern life. Bingo. And remember to remember their track record prior to their case if they come out to you publicly. They might have real valid apps that are necessary to maintain an even keel. Make sure to tell them if possible to schedule around as best they can, and realize schedules don't always line up how you'd hoped. Don't be a douche and confer with HR on how to get rid of the problem and collect data so you can figure out how to legally fuck that person out of a job. This is a great answer. Unfortunately often, and it seems in this case, the result or requirement of the job is simply show up on time and stay for a set amount of time. I can't wait for the day I find a role where I'm about to show what I can do, use my mind, but don't have be in this building for X amount of hours as the main job requirement. I feel as though I have a lot of potential, I just don't seem to fit in most traditional job roles, especially the entry-level ones. Oh gosh, I've tried though, and I guess I'll keep trying until I find a better way. Just the fact that you are asking this question puts you light years ahead of most bosses. Being accommodating goes a long way and can inspire both harder work and loyalty, if done properly. If someone is extremely depressed, your reaction can make all the difference. If you react with severity, tough love, and tell them to get off their asses and get back to work and their mood isn't an excuse, etc., you're just going to make their depression even worse in 99% of cases. It is depressing to think the world is harsh and brutal and concerned only with productivity and making a buck. You're just reinforcing that worldview by telling them to suck it up. But if you show them unexpected kindness, it might just raise their spirits and help them see that good people exist and it is not just some hopeless corporate dystopia out there. More than anything, be human, realize they're human, not just a piece of equipment to push until it breaks. I agree. I asked for an extension on a homework assignment this semester, telling my professor that I was crying too much to be able to concentrate, and he was super supportive and accommodating, and I could tell that he actually cared about my well-being. I submitted the assignment a day late like I said I would, and then met to talk with him later that week. I didn't say what was wrong in my life, but I think it was clear that stuff was wrong. We talked about how if you're overwhelmed it's good to break it up into small chunks. I've done great in his class the rest of the semester. In fact, it's one of the only classes I'm doing well in this semester. Knowing that he cares about me makes all the difference. It makes me want to do problem sets and show up to class just to see his face because I know he is someone I can count on and trust, when I can't count on many other people anymore because of the way COVID has changed things. 10/10 would recommend this approach, show that you care. I know this is school and not work, but it's a similar thing. Edit to add, another important thing is to be clear about expectations and to communicate. A lack of expectations, deadlines, or clarity can be stressful for me. Others may feel differently though. If you have a problem, say that, too. Just say it in a nice way. State the facts of the situation and what you would like the other person to do, and be willing to hear their side of the story if applicable and what suggestions they have for improving things. Sometimes people need something small that can make a big difference but won't ask for it unless prompted. This. Hate how the adult life is. I don't care about you. You don't care about me. I don't understand why every adult wants to have that cold mindset. Second this. I have depression. I have known my boss for a long time, so she can see when I am struggling. A few things she does: she never forces me to talk. She has made it clear her door is always open if I need to chat, but she never sits me down to ask direct questions. Asks me what she can do to support me, helps to lighten my load, moves things around so I can take a day off, allows me to work from home, treats appear on my desk. We have a code I can give her when things are rough and there are others around, so she knows to step in. With her support I usually can get myself turned around a lot quicker than if I didn't have the support. I hope this helps. Meanwhile, I was fired with no write-ups for having a breakdown after being dumped plus almost homeless. I walked outside to call a coworker to cover my shift and was terminated for it. The number one thing to me is making sure you are someone your employees can talk to. I had a breakdown while my boss was on vacation once. I didn't interrupt their vacation, they deserve not to think about work during that time. But when they got back, we had a sit-down conversation about the things that happened while they were gone and what about them were challenging. Then we talked about how to better approach those problems in the future. Then, they took away some of the particular part of the workload that was getting to me and replaced it with tasks that were equally useful but less personally taxing. I think this is important. While sometimes it is about generally lightening the workload and learning strategies to overcome challenges, sometimes it is also about switching to a task that is in itself more manageable because of what it is, not how much work it is. I didn't and still don't want to avoid tasks that are challenging. But when I find something that I completely crashed at trying, it was helpful to back it off and wean back onto it when my boss could guide and support me. Is their mental illness affecting their work or their coworkers? It is affecting their work. They've been late or missed entire shifts before. They have since been written up and they are seeking help, which is very good, although it changes their schedule to be much frustrating for me to work around, but that's small potatoes at this point. I have no comments to add, but speaking as a schizophrenic, I am supremely grateful that there are bosses like you in the world who actually give a fuck about the people who work under them. That's a tough one. As someone who has had to go on FMLA leave for essentially a mental breakdown, my boss was supportive and not judgmental, but it ended up biting me in the ass to be open with him about it. When I'd make the occasional mistake, it seemed to fall into a narrative of being unreliable. Tended up quitting after an extended leave. I didn't know what to do, but obviously there needed to be a change. I don't think there's any way he could have handled it right one way or another. It probably wouldn't have affected me if he had said that's not real, do a better job. The unfortunate reality is that a job is a job and an employee is there to perform their function to create profit. As someone in a similar position as they are, I would ask for compassion and understanding to an extent, but the last thing I want is to be a burden and cause co-workers problems with unexpected shift changes and things that end up costing the company more than I contribute. If they are causing a financial hit that will reflect on you and bring to question your role in enabling issues, you need to be concerned about your own livelihood. Allow for what is legally mandated by FMLA, and if the limits of your compassion go beyond the financial bottom line, you should let them go. The truth is they won't be any better off underperforming at a job they didn't fit, and you will be worse off at a point for sure. If anyone finds out, hit me up so I can pass the answer on to my ex-boss because he was truly a dick. But seriously, I'd suggest being open to discussion about any requirements or changes they may need to work and allowing them to feel comfortable within their role in the company, enough that they can be open about their issues. As well as reassuring them that they won't be reprimanded if they have a bad day. My boss used to use my mental health against me if I wasn't behaving correctly, i.e. not letting him manipulate me and make me feel bad about myself so that I'd do what he wanted me to do. Just don't be a heartless prick. I'm doing everything I absolutely can to be a boss with a heart and still keep the ship from sinking. We're very understaffed. Thank you very much for your advice. Lost a job not too long ago, due to having anxiety attacks regularly following a return to work during pandemic. Was pulled aside, told to try and be more jovial/smile more. I'm wearing a fucking mask and asked if I needed any help/wanted to talk. When I discussed I was having issues and currently seeing a therapist and doctor, I was fired within the week, after being blamed for their failing business. Told me I was being dramatic when I put issues such as managers bully staff, no safety measures, and basically not wanting to work a 12-hour shift on a bar by myself. Point is OP, be compassionate and understanding. Try your best to help them by offering time off, web links/phone lines to call and take time to talk, and /listen/ if they wish to. For real, my previous boss put me on a performance review because despite my work getting done to the standard it should have been, I wasn't engaging with the rest of the team properly and it was making them uncomfortable. They basically gaslit me and turned my depression around on myself, and it was the best time of my life when I was told I'd be made redundant at the end of my contract, so took the remaining 3 months off as sick leave and then cashed out with my redundancy package. They may not be capable of their job right now. There is nothing you can do to change that. You can just decide if you are going to accept it or not. We don't live in a society that has ways of solving this unless you can support them financially until their health improves. This is absolutely true. It sounds like the OP is in a specific situation where they've tried appropriate options, but both manager and employee are hitting a wall. I work in a very different environment than what they described. A few people on my team, including myself, deal with depression. Almost every member of the team has been around long enough that at some point they had to deal with something heavy and people had to pick up their slack. But we have the luxury of working at a place where that can be spread throughout a team and the impact isn't as bad. We don't have to have the same number of people available every day. Sounds like with the job OP is describing, if the worker doesn't show up, someone else has to be called in to cover. At some point, sadly, it just has to be handled as an HR issue. Upvoted because I kinda wanna see where this goes for a coworker's side of things. A CO worker of mine has some mental health issues. One day I found out I was the only one of my coworkers not taking antidepressants. Boy was that an eye-opener. My boss was not a dick by any stretch and our jobs were relatively low stress. One was in an abusive relationship I helped her exit from and 2 others were having relationship issues. We all keep in touch. I hope to see what advice is offered so I can pass it along. We've done various types of training, harassment, gender identity, etc. where I work, though we haven't done one on mental health. I'm definitely going to reach out to my HR department and see if they can put one together. Work in a corporate office. I've had a coworker with severe depression for 4 years now, and the only thing that works is basically letting him get away with being a bad employee and allowing him to be a massive burden. He's technically better than no one and HR hasn't let my manager get rid of him. I tried to be more supportive and flexible, but it backfires and he ends up leaning into the freedom and doing less work. One time we had a heart-to-heart and I said I understood and he's doing fine. And then he no-showed the next day, so basically our solution is to give him as little as work as possible and not count on him for anything important. It's a fucking nightmare. And I have depression too. I just don't believe it's excuse to be a bag of shit when people are counting on you as part of a team. Depends on the issues. Several missed shifts and no-shows. They're currently seeking help, which is good. Still want to know if I can do something as a boss to make things work better for everyone. I have CPTSD and bipolar too. I was open and upfront with my boss about everything. She was awesome about it and would check on me every once in a while, and if I started to get overwhelmed retail I knew I could go to her and she would find me something quiet to do, or if it was really bad she'd let me take off early with the promise I would talk to my doctors and keep her in the loop. I left that job 2 years ago and still keep in contact with her. She helped me a lot and I always felt guilty about it. She let me know I wasn't a burden for needing help and always encouraged me. I think that's the biggest thing. People like me feel really guilty and burdensome for needing extra help. We try not to ask for it because we don't want to be seen as lazy, weak, or a problem. Letting someone like me know it is okay and that they're not a burden goes a long way. I have similar mental health status to you and the idea of informing a new employer of it is very intimidating. I'm really happy to hear it worked well for you. Any job I've had I always have been among the most hardworking and reliable employees, but come time I start struggling with my disorders, all that hard work and responsibility I shouldered becomes like a massive grave I dug myself and it feels impossible to ask for help. Wow. She sounds amazing. Hope you're doing well, sending good vibes. Indeed, depends on the issue. I got issues too and I don't think bosses know this, but it seems a general trend here. My work, my wife's work. It really doesn't matter where I work or for what company. I couldn't care less. I just want a job that I like. Most of the time it is the direct hierarchy or sometimes close colleagues that is responsible for depression or burnouts. Turning the job into something that they'll hate, removing all motivation. In my case it is micromanaging. If you start doing that, my output is reduced to about 10%. The bare minimum. So in that case, see if the cause comes outside, angry partner, financial issues, or from within the workplace, you, or any of the direct colleagues. Thank you. When I hear from her next I'll make sure nothing at work is messing with them. You're in a tough spot due to needing to fill specific shifts and needing reliability in the position. And number X200B, that you're asking at all is great, and number X200B, I would encourage your employee to take FMLA if at all possible. Also just ask how you can help. And number X200B, ultimately, they do have an obligation to their job, but they may not be able to fulfill the obligations at the rail yard. So, if you really want to help, you might need to help this person find a position that gives them more of the flexibility that they need. And number X200B, sincerely wishing you and her the best of luck. This is a tough time for mental health issues, and we're all coping our best. First, put all your expectations in writing. Not just for this one employee, but for everyone. Write down how every task should be completed. That will help the employee in question immensely because there won't be any uncertainty. This includes specific instructions and timelines for how to call out of work. Next, hold everyone, even yourself, to those standards. This will help you know if you are subconsciously harder on one employee than others. It's easy to do, and it can really affect the work culture when people aren't treated the same. Finally, be fair but firm in consequences. Yes, having a mental illness is difficult, but the expectations are the expectations, and there are next steps if they're not met. You may feel like you can't let this person go because you're short-staffed, but ultimately it's easier to plan for X amount of reliable people where X equals not quite enough people that to constantly be scrambling to cover for one unreliable person. First, put all your expectations in writing. Not just for this one employee, but for everyone. Write down how every task should be completed. That will help the employee in question immensely because there won't be any uncertainty. This includes specific instructions and timelines for how to call out of work. Hold up. Whether that is helpful to the employee depends on the issues at hand. I agree that process documentation is commonly useful for most people and legally very handy. There are some employees, generally the neurotic, low confidence and high agreeableness for whom a process list rather than an outcome list will be a source of stress as they become neurotic about following the plan regardless of whether that suits their style. That said, I think this suggestion could be helpful for a lot of people, just not all people. Are they a good employee with poor mental health, or a bad employee with poor mental health? I once had a crew member on a feature film. Great employee, but his father died recently. Literally, it was just telling him good job, or every once in a while a bro hug, and you could see how much wind it put in his sails. On another instance, I had a crew member who would lie compulsively. He had slight Asperger's, which he said caused the lying. The first few times he apologized, and we moved on. But as it kept happening, eventually, firing him was the only option. Be sympathetic and supportive. But if it impacts your business, then they have to go. It is harsh, it sucks. But if business goes downhill, then more than just one employee will be negatively affected. Be compassionate, but still hold them accountable for projects that they own. Let them set the terms and boundaries for discussion, but make it clear that you are open to communication and genuinely want to help them. The biggest thing I can impress is take away the fear. The fear of losing their job, of being persecuted for their issues, of being embarrassed or stigmatized. Don't let them take advantage of the business, but let them know you are here for them, not against them.
Like and subscribe for more Reddit content. Watch the next video at the top of your screen.